Well, it's another Sunday. Welcome to the Shaker Heights, where experiences may vary. I'm your co-host, Gabe Tolliver. We have my man Eric Green, and today we have class of '86, Christine Cicero Corbissero. We're gonna bring her in. Move her over. There we go. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi. How are you?
Welcome. All right, how you doing on this Sunday?
Good. It's a little gloomy here in Cleveland, but it's Cleveland, so.
Yeah. What's gloom without Cleveland, you know?
Yep.
No, thank you for taking time out to join us. I'm just trying to get myself situated with my camera here. There we go. There we go. All right. This is episode number 13.
Ooh, lucky number 13.
Yes.
We got
my favorite numbers.
Pretty good this week.
Yes.
Work in progress.
Yes. We have a in-house band that Eric and I contracted out to do the music, and they're still learning the notes. And we're broadcasting live
Which
this week.
Are we?
We're at the Coventry newsstand on the Shaker line. We were getting complaints that we were, not paying attention to the folks that grew up on the Green Line. So we decided to move the show over to the Coventry newsstand stop, where we're live and direct in our minds. So here we are. We got to get one thing out of the way. We got this advertisements. We got to advertise the hometown kid. Christine, you and I were talking about businesses and their ethical perspective on things.
Yep.
This is a business that is on point. Everything they make, they donate to help kids. They don't have greedy executives with golden parachutes and all that. And they make quality food.
As I say, and their food's really good too, right?
Yes, indeed. You must try their frozen pizza. Who knew that this kid from Brighton Road would have such a amazing legacy and career? Acting, racing, and now fine quality food. If you haven't tried Newman's Own, it's in your fine grocer's freezer. Heinen's, Dave's, Giant, Safeway, or wherever you shop. Whole Foods. Newman's Own. Don't take my word for it. Try it. Okay.
I think we got some new sponsorship opportunities. I hear Heinen's. Shout out to Heinen's.
Yes, shout out to Heinen's. Do you have any Heinen's stories, Christine?
Well, I shop at Heinen's still on a regular basis. There's one down the street.
Okay.
The biggest advance at Heinen's for me was that my store, and I think the Mayfield Village store, I don't know. I know not all of them are doing this. They are letting you bring your carts to the car. Big advancement. You don't have to pull around and you don't have to pull around and have your car loaded.
Right.
I'm a huge proponent of Heinen's. I have people tell me all the time, oh, it's too expensive. And I say, actually, it's not. If you compare their prices, they're not. So I love Heinen's. So there you go. We did a free pitch for Heinen's.
There we go. Oh man. So tell us, Christine. Where did your Shaker journey start for you?
So I grew up as a kid actually in University Heights. But we didn't go to I went to first grade in Heights, and my parents were like, yeah, no, this school is not good enough. So we all got pulled out and put into a private school. Okay. It was actually kind of funny because I was having this conversation with Gabe. I'm a very confusing person. My name is Christine Cicero Corbissero, but I am Jewish, and I went to a Jewish day school where we spoke Hebrew every day. And I lived in University Heights, and everyone else on my block went to Jesu.
Oh, wow.
So nobody went to public school where I lived, and we lived like 3 blocks from Canterbury. So I moved to Shaker in 5th grade and went to Fernway. So came to Fernway, loved it, lived next, my neighbor were the Brickmans. So John Brickman, Andy Brickman.
Yeah, I remember the Brickmans. Yeah.
They were my neighbors. Down the street were was it the Muellers?
Tim
The
Mueller.
Goodwins lived 2 doors from me.
Okay.
Sherry Williams and she was on Ingleside right through the yards.
Okay.
So, I came to Shaker in 5th and 6th, and then I went to Woodbury, which was by far the better middle school. And
True.
And then I went to Shaker.
Okay. So, getting transferred or like from University Heights and coming into Shaker, was that just kind of like very abrupt? Like one morning you woke up and your parents were like, yo, we're
no, it was actually really funny. So my parents, when they were looking for houses, I distinctly remember this. My mother claims she doesn't remember this, but she was looking and we didn't want to leave our private school. And she said, well, the only way you're leaving is if we move to Shaker, and there's no way we'll move to Shaker. And then we moved to Shaker.
Famous last words.
I have 3 brothers. My older brother did go, oddly enough, from a Jewish day school to Gilmore Academy.
Okay. Gilmore. I forgot about them because
so he went right from a Jewish day school to a parochial school.
Yeah.
But the rest of us all came up through Shaker. My youngest brother came up from kindergarten up.
So like with like the Jewish day school, because I remember having a couple of classmates at Ludlow that went to Hebrew school.
Right.
Did you still continue going in and around, going to Fernway or Woodbury?
When I went to Fernway, instead of, obviously the Jewish day school is during the day instead of Shaker, instead of normal classes. So we went to Hebrew school after school. So we like once or twice a week, I think we had to go over on Fairmount Boulevard.
Okay. Yeah.
Fairmount and Richmond. There was like a little building right there. Actually, I think a temple owns it now, but there was a preschool there as well. That was the Cleveland Hebrew School for a long time where I went.
And did you like feel like any estrangement from your friends from day school and when you moved?
No, I still kind of talk to some of them. Actually, a couple of them I'm still friends with on Facebook now.
Okay.
But what the biggest impact, I think, thing that impacted me when I came to Shaker was the fact that I wasn't like the only one. I mean, like I said, on my block, I grew up, everybody went to Jesus, so they were all Catholic. When I came to Shaker, it was just very welcoming. There was a ton of diversity and inclusion, which impacted me as an adult, because when I was looking for a house, I told my husband, I was like, I can't move here. There's not enough diversity. Like that was a huge, big deal to me. And it was just, Shaker really embraces every culture and every religion. I feel like when I was a sophomore, I think it was, Shaker added closing school on the high holidays, which they hadn't done previously. And they still do to this day. All the Heights areas do it now. But I think the biggest thing for me was Shaker kind of made me think that that's what the world was like. And when I went to Ohio State and then went other places, I was kind of shocked. I didn't realize there weren't, tons of temples. I didn't realize there weren't Black people everywhere. I had somebody my freshman year tell me they had never met a Black person or a Jewish person, and I thought they were kidding, but they weren't. And they were from Ohio.
Well, Ohio has 88 counties.
Yeah.
And some of those counties seem like another planet.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I followed the Shaker train to Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, we all, yes, that's a whole documentary right there.
I lived across the street from John Dent for a while. And still saw everybody all the time. It was like you didn't leave high school. You just kind of ran into the same people.
Right. And then what was your interest academically down at Ohio State? Did you kind of know what you wanted to go into, or you were still?
Yeah, when I got there,
Yeah.
I wanted to do some sort of communications or journalism kind of something.
Okay.
And my freshman year, I had taken like an in-studio class for like news production, and then found out that that was the only in-studio class for communications, and had learned a valuable lesson from my brother who had graduated in communications, that if you didn't have experience in school, you weren't going to probably get a job when you got out. So I switched my major to journalism because they required an internship, and I had to do 2 semesters at the paper. So I was a writer and I was a copy editor. So
was it the Lantern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. My memory sometimes fails me. Like this was like, I remember like when we reconnected over on Facebook, and we were talking, you were like, do you remember? I forget how you set it up. It was like we went to the Duran Duran concert together with Ashley Imus and Ty Bassett, RIP. And I was like, oh, I don't remember. I didn't honestly remember for a second. And then Eric had pointed out like both of those concerts were snowstorms. So like in my mind, I had them shuffled.
Yep.
So, but yes, we went to Duran Duran, and I wound up pushing the car. Was it like a Honda or something?
It was not a good car.
Right.
I don't remember it was Ashley's, whose car it was.
Yeah.
But I just remember you got out to push because Ty didn't want to ruin his shoes.
Yes. Oh, that says a lot, right? Oh, fun times.
So let me ask you this: since you're at Laurel, right?
At Laurel, no. You mean the private school?
Yeah.
Oh, I was at a school called Agnon.
Oh, Agnon. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you? Were you like? I hear John Dent. Did you hang out with Shaker people, or did you?
Not in elementary school. When I got to high school, I hung out. And at high school, I would say I hung out more with the class of '85 up until they graduated. Then I hung out with probably '86. I mean, I hung out with certain people. Amy Vale ran with me all the time. Laura Calfadis. We were all dance club. Well, as you guys probably remember, we were all dance club members. So dance club took up probably the majority of what we did. And then they were cheerleaders. So football and dance were pretty much all we did.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned dance because I'm gonna get Jim Capoletti on, because he was part of the dance.
Yes, Jimmy and I were good friends.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I look back at that, Jimmy was. It was like what's that show? Fame.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, we thought we were Fame. We really did. We thought we were in Fame 100%.
Yeah, right.
It was fun. I mean, it was a great experience. It kept us out of trouble.
Yeah.
And for people like Jimmy, it's made a career out of it. And quite a few other people that were in dance club actually went somewhere with it.
I mean, we had a really talented, looking back, such a talented like arts component, the theater, the dance. I mean, just man.
The fact that we didn't have a art school, creative school is kind of amazing, because if you look at the people who've come out of Shaker and what a lot of them have done.
Right.
It's kind of amazing.
I'm so surprised at how many people were there. Well, after the fact, I found out, went to art school or are working in the arts or music. And I was comparing notes. I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art, and a friend of mine who we'll probably have on the show, he's got Matt Jason's say, works in the entertainment business, but he went to the Baltimore School of Arts, and he went with Tupac and
nice
wife, and we're having the same conversation. It's crazy how the schools were similar and not being defined as a school.
Yeah, and also you think about it. I mean, you had teachers like James Hoffman, Parsalides. I don't know anybody on the music
Thornton,
side
who was in theater.
Yeah. Okay. But just the fact that they were just really good at what they were doing, and where our school was just kind of like most of the time, like meat and potatoes, like you get, you study the traditional stuff and then you hopefully go to a notable school. I mean, a lot of stuff was, very, I don't know. I feel like Ralph Lauren-ish in some ways.
Right. Well, and then you think about some of the families, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being at a 7th grade talent show at Woodbury and Sean Levert was on stage singing. I mean, and I think the OJs came and performed that year. I mean, it's just like the access that a lot of the families already came out of. I wonder if that also had some impact on just the expansion.
So Gerald was in our class. Was Sean?
Right. Sean was in my class. Yeah.
I don't even remember seeing him. Do you remember seeing him, Gabe?
No, I remember Sean like after high school.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's what was crazy about it, like because I remember the group. I mean, it was Gerald and there was like Ted Jones and a couple other guys in our grade that were associated with the Levert Music Machine. But his brother was sort of like, I didn't really know about him until after school. I was like, oh, he had a brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Mark Gordon go too? The one who was not related?
Yeah. I mean, I see him in a lot of the early photos for Levert and stuff like that.
Was he a Shaker resident or what? Where did?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Wow, man. So Ohio State, man. Do you feel like did you feel like before that, because we were there when it was before the Ohio State University?
We were all there. Let's be honest. We were all there because at that time you just had to graduate from an Ohio high school to get in.
Yeah.
I would never in a million years get into Ohio State right now. I have 3 kids and my oldest actually got in, but the other 2 got waitlisted. I mean, It is incredibly, I don't think a lot of people realize how difficult it is to get into main campus now.
Yeah, like they stepped their game up, like we're the Ohio State. I was down there a couple of weeks ago for I went down for a night for a Kraftwerk show, and I went by the bookstore and I got the old English script T-shirt that says Ohio State. It would be some, from our era.
Yep.
It was just like, wow. I mean, and that brought back a lot of memories, even access to the football games as we had as students, you got like a free.
Trust me, I'm shooting myself for not keeping going after I graduated because now those tickets are ridiculous.
Yeah, totally. So
does that Long store still exist there? Long's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the few things that's still the same there. Could you believe how much it's changed, Gabe?
It was crazy. Like, I mean, High Street is unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And Long's Head is totally modernized. Mm-hmm. It's everything. So,
and I lived on High Street. So when I go down there, I'm like, wow, that's where I ran all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing is the same. It's very different.
The UDF is still there, which is nice. And Buckeye Donut.
The staples.
Yes.
The burning couches or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was that happened someplace down there.
Yeah. Well, when they won the national championships, they did that. I don't remember ever seeing a couch burning when I lived there, but
no. I lived at South Campus off of West 9th and South High. Yeah. But yeah, man, Ohio State. So take us from Ohio State. So you graduate, and what was let me stop. Before then, did you find that your Shaker education served you greatly at Ohio State? Did you feel like you were ahead of the curve, or was it challenging for you?
It's kind of funny that you say that because I have an older brother who I said went to Gilmore, so much higher education. Supposedly. He went to Miami, and I remember he said that what he learned in high school is his studying skills got him through. My freshman year of Ohio State, I didn't do the greatest, but I also lived in the towers.
Oh, the infamous towers.
So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But no, I actually found that the education I got at Shaker was 100% like on par with not only the private education I was getting, but definitely prepared me for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it wasn't like any like academic culture shock, like, oh.
Why did I think you went to Laurel? Why did we talk about that, Gabe?
No, I think I mentioned somebody else who had went to Laurel, but the fact Gilmore being brought up, like I totally forgot about that school within the Regina Benedictine, that whole orbit. I mean, It's amazing how many private schools Shaker fed.
Well, Gilmore is still open, and US is open, and they're right by each other.
Yeah. And is Hawkins still around?
Yeah, Hawkins still exists.
Yeah.
Halfway Brown, Laurel.
Yeah.
Regina no longer.
Okay.
What was the school behind the bricks on Lee Road? Behind the brick, Beaumont.
Oh,
Beaumont. That's another one.
I don't know if Beaumont's still around or not. For some reason, I thought
I know they were winning the state track championships, and they had no field, no track to run on. But they would always win.
Wow, I remember Beaumont. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all these schools that were clustered around Shaker.
Yeah, all girls school.
Yeah.
And the student, I'm going to spill some tea. I think all the student presidents were, I heard there's rumor they're pregnant. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Oh, by him?
What?
I'm lost in translation. Who?
Beaumont, it was an all-girls school. It's a private school.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of the girls became pregnant while they were students at Beaumont. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so that was the talk of the town,
if you will.
Yeah.
I will say, I worked with some girls at Sands Deli. If you remember Sands, I worked there for years with a bunch of people.
I worked at Sands.
We probably worked together too.
Yeah, I worked as a dishwasher and a busboy.
So, do you remember a waitress named Julie? She was wild. She went to Beaumont.
Okay, was she tall and smoked a lot of cigarettes?
No.
Okay.
She was well built. And I just remember she wore, for Halloween one year, she wore a nun's habit, was her costume. And she picked it up to show us she was wearing red lace underwear. She thought that was a funny costume. So my point being, the Beaumont story that Eric just told.
Yeah.
Might hold some water. You know what repression does? When they tell you can't have something, that's when you really
want it.
Right?
So real quick about Sands. So I'm trying to remember some of the other waitresses that worked there. I know like one of the Belkins worked there.
Yep. I was a cashier.
Okay. And you worked with like
Amy Hazel used to work there. She was in 86. She was in my grade.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember who else. I know Amy Vale worked there. There were a couple other girls that worked there. This is bad. I shouldn't be telling this story. But
spill the tea.
We maybe used to be able to leave with alcoholic beverages.
Statute of limitations over.
Knowing from the cooler.
Yeah.
And there may have been a teacher at Shaker that we were friends with that really liked craft beer that we may have used to put 4-packs in the back of his truck in the parking lot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll just say science. I'll just say he was a science teacher, and that should be enough for the people who knew.
Okay. So if you know, you know.
Environmental science. How's that?
Yeah. If you know, you know. I remember a couple of the Shaker guys I worked with at Sands were also bus boys and worked in the back. They used to put nice fine cuts of roast beef and turkey in a garbage bag, and they would act like the garbage bag was trash and then take it home out the back. Yeah. Yes.
There was a lot that walked out of that thing. It was probably
really bad. Especially with the owner's son, yes. The upstairs.
It was definitely a fun place to work in high school. That was for sure.
Is it still around, or is it a
No.
cheap opportunity?
It sold to another guy, and then he ended up closing it. And with Van Aken becoming what it is, that's a whole nother thing. I don't know when
Yes.
you were here last, Gabe. I mean,
20
I grew up on Norwood, so I grew
Yeah.
up right on off of Van Aken. So I lived at Van Aken.
Yeah.
So I know another episode you guys were talking about the colony.
Yes.
So my brother that I'm talking about, the older one, he was actually an usher there during all that time when we were doing all that stuff.
Oh man.
He didn't like us so much. He wasn't happy with us.
Yeah.
But no, what's going on on Van Aken, the way they've developed it is kind of unbelievable. If you haven't been.
Yeah. I haven't been there before the last time I was there, it was before they broke ground for that new high rise where Ohio Savings was in the parking lot. So when I come back in July, that's going to be like I hadn't been back there since like maybe 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, so like March.
Stop with wasn't that Ohio Savings and Starbucks? Can you not hear me? Can you?
I can.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. So there was a right at the end of the Rapid Van Aken line where it turned around. Was that where the Ohio Savings was? And then it was a Starbucks.
Uh-huh.
So that's where they're building
they kind of built that like whole area. So the like the end of the line there that would turn around is like almost you don't see it anymore. I don't know what they've done with it. I'm sure it's over there, but I haven't seen it. So they built up this area with like a big food court called Market District. Or not Market District, it's called Van Aken District, I think.
I know that, but I'm just saying right where the Rapid is, like right across from the district.
I didn't notice anything over there. But I'm usually over in the other area, like off of Farnsley. So
I'm just trying to picture the high rise. I'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see it. It's almost it's almost like diagonally across from 1899 or whatever that golf place that used to be the Colony or theater.
The Vogue.
The Vogue.
The Vogue, that's what it was. I called
the Vogue. Yeah. So it's like from just seeing it like on paper, it's like huge. And they got like New York prices for rent, which is crazy.
Yeah, they do.
And those other spots that, to your point, Eric, where the Rapid would turn around, there's apartments there that overlook where the turnaround is.
Okay, that's what I was trying.
Yeah, but I don't know. Those apartments, they got like see-through bathroom windows on the side, and it's almost like you got to like get an extra long bathroom curtain. And I guess maybe they wanted the light to come in. I don't know if that's southern exposure or whatever, but that's what I noticed from the street. But anyway, wow. Damn. So, Ohio State, you finished up there.
Yeah, and I stayed there for 2 years. I lived there.
Okay.
And then it's like everybody decided to stay. And we were all competing for jobs. So I had heard some people were leaving, and I was like, you know what, let's move. And I was dating my now husband, and so we decided to come back up north. Actually, the funniest thing is at that same time, and I don't know how long you were down there for, Gabe, but it was like all of us moved back. That's why this whole thing is so bizarre. We all went to Shaker, then we all moved to Columbus, then we all came back to Cleveland, like almost at the same time.
Wow. Yeah.
So I came back here. I did move east of here to Ashtabula.
Oh yeah.
For a whole month, I think I made it. And because my husband's family was from there, so we had a place to live and jobs. And then I ended up, after that, I came back, lived in Cleveland Heights for a while on Coventry, and then bought my house that I'm still in Willoughby. Willoughby Hills, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think Tony Peck lives out in, is it Willoughby? Yeah, he lives out in Willoughby.
Willoughby or Willowick, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where Jane Kennedy is from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. When I think of Ashtabula, I think about those TV weather things, because they always talk about like a tornado touching down in Ashtabula County. Yeah. Like, where you repping? Ashtabula.
Yeah, we still have a house up there. The house my husband grew up in, we have up there. It's right on the lake. So I mean, it's a great place to vacation. It's just somewhere I want to live permanently because there's no culture. Literally, my husband calls it a cultural dead zone.
I have to add one tidbit because I'm a music. The Gilmore Academy T-shirts are very popular amongst the Pink Floyd contingent.
Really?
Yeah, all around everywhere, because he was wearing David Gilmour was pictured wearing a Gilmore Academy T-shirt. So.
Oh wow!
Wow!
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know these useless facts, but that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Eric's going to be opening up a record store. He's bringing back records and cassettes.
Vinyl is it. I'll tell you what. I just moved my daughter yesterday, and she has a record player and she has a stack of vinyl.
Wow! Right on.
She's 22. She would rather have vinyl than anything else.
Well, I miss that cassettes. I miss that.
Yeah.
Bring it back to cassette.
I mean, the whole idea.
8 tracks.
8 tracks. Yeah, I mean, you think about 8 tracks were a superior format at one time. Just in terms of the audio quality.
I still sing songs like I had some 8 tracks, and when it pauses and it clicks over and then it fades in. I sing a lot of my favorite Bee Gees songs like that because I started out with the 8 track, and I had my whole collection started off in 8 tracks.
I remember my parents had an 8 track
too.
Yeah. We had one of those like them Sears entertainment cabinets, had the record player and the 8 track player thing in there. And I remember those clunky cassettes. My mom had a lot of gospel on that. But the 8 tracks. Wow. I want to get one of those what do you call Walkman inspired reissues, because I still have a lot of cassettes. So
mixtapes. Got to do something with those mixtapes.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they'd be worth something. Yeah. So okay, you back up in Northeast Ohio and everything.
Yeah, I came back up here, and I own my own marketing company for about 25 years.
Wow.
In between doing other things.
Yeah.
We started in 93. I started with my younger brother, who's class of 87.
Okay.
Greg. We started a company, and we had this great idea to, what would it be like if your sales force could be out in the field and they could go on a computer and see your stock and sell to the live actual inventory you have and place the order. And so we'd go and I'd pitch it and they'd love it. And then they would look at me and go, "So you want me to get my whole sales force laptops?" I didn't think that part through. Yeah. But they kept saying, it was 93, and they kept saying, do you do websites? And so, being the consummate salesperson I am, I said, of course we do. And we figured it out, and we did a whole bunch of websites. I just actually stopped this month doing Pickwick and Frolic, which is on 4th Street, Hilarities. I've done their website for the past 23 years.
Wow.
So I just handed it off.
Okay.
So yeah, I did that for quite a while. And then I bartended when I had kids, because it was great because I didn't have to have a babysitter. I could go to night. So I did that. And then I've had all different kinds of jobs. I've worked in the boating industry.
So you go over the IX for the boating expo?
So there's, most people don't know this, there's a sailboat manufacturer in Ohio. They're in Fairport Harbor, which is not that far. And they make really amazing boats. So I worked for them off and on for about 15 years as their marketing director. And then I left, did hospitality for a while, and then recently jumped to my true passion, thinking I found my my job I was going to have until I retired in the cannabis industry. And
right on.
that was somewhat short-lived. And then I'm back in marketing, but I'm still working with people in the cannabis industry.
So let's talk about Ohio and cannabis briefly. Like, it's a legit business, of course. Many medicinal things for it. Yeah. So what's been your take on Ohio's coming into getting with the program, I guess, about, cannabis?
So I've been an activist for, I don't even know how many years at this point. So some people might remember, I don't know if you remember it, Gabe, there was the very first initiative that got proposed in Ohio was called Responsible Ohio. And it was a group of 8 kind of consortiums, 8 business groups that were going to come in, and they were proposing recreational cannabis right out of the bat.
I see.
But the way the law was written was these 8 companies were the only ones who were going to maintain kind of ownership and ability in the industry.
Oh, they wanted to be a cartel.
They were going to be an oligarchy. And some of the people involved, it was kind of funny. I don't know if you know Nick Lachey. He was like the face of the campaign because his family was invested with one of the groups.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. The name sounds familiar.
A little music reference. It was 98 Degrees.
Yeah.
The band they were in.
Yeah. Something. They're from Youngstown.
I think they're from Steubenville.
No, I don't think so.
Is it Youngstown?
I think it's Youngstown.
Okay, so they partnered up with some people, and Nick for a while was the face of it. I, at the time, had joined a group called Ohioans to End Prohibition, which was another cannabis group that was trying to get legalization, but they were a very grassroots, activist-driven group that wanted like open market, right?
I see.
Let's give everybody access. We actually shifted our focus to stop Responsible Ohio because once it got on the ballot, we didn't want it to pass.
Right.
And the reason is we wanted a freer market. We didn't think it was fair. Fast forward, and that failed. And a new initiative came out because they realized that after doing some polls that medical would pass, but recreational was not going to. So a super PAC group called Marijuana Policy Project came into Ohio and formed an initiative called Ohioans for Medical Marijuana. And I joined that initiative. And we were collecting signatures. We were super active. And actually, our group was the reason that we have the law right now in Ohio, because we had gotten so many signatures that the state was panicking. And our initiative was going to change the Constitution. And if you do it that way, they can't have any say. They don't have any power. So House Bill 523 got quickly pushed. There were, since then I have found out there was some serious corruption between some MPP and Ohio politicians with some promises made for us to go away. So it did pass, and we do have the current program. I am a patient. I think it's a great program for patients. I think there's definitely some improvements that can be made. I think they have quickly, if they see a problem, they fix it. Biggest issue I have with our problem or with our current medical program is everywhere else is eighths and quarters. And in Ohio, we have a tenth. It's a made up measurement. And every other cannabis culture in the country makes fun of us. We call it the Ohio tenth.
So, okay, what is a tenth percentage wise? Like, what does that look like?
So a tenth is 2.83 grams.
That's, I mean, I have no reference point.
It made no sense. I mean, back in the day, you'd go and you'd get a quarter. You'd get a quarter, which is like this much, or you'd get an eighth, which is half of that.
Right.
Ohio just made up this entire protocol.
Just to be different.
Yeah. And they also, like, you have a certain number of days, and the way they made it was so that, like, if I go and I get something that's actually, I'm sorry, 10th, I think is less than the 223. If I go and I want to get a 1-day dose, if I get a 1 gram cart, it's 2 days because it's over the 0.84 that I'm allowed per day. So it's like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the program's good. There's a lot of really good people in the program. There's a lot of really good people who work in the dispensaries that are really there. I will say the bud tenders are definitely there to help people. Their goal isn't to just sell. They don't work on commission. They literally just are there to try to give you the best advice they can give you.
Let's see.
And now we have the rec program, which is coming sooner than most people realize. June 7th, which is the end of this week, they are starting to take applications for the existing companies that are established in Ohio already to be able to duly sell out of the same dispensary, medical and rec.
Okay. Wow.
So they're saying by the end of the month, we could have a couple dispensaries selling recreational cannabis.
And do you think it's going to scale up like Michigan or
it already is?
Colorado?
I mean,
okay.
So the way the law was written, I believe that the people who currently have stakes, like if you're a cultivator and you're multi-tiered, you can add 5 dispensaries, I believe was the number I heard, like right out of the gate.
Oh, wow.
So we're already seeing a lot of that going on. We're seeing, I just saw a story yesterday where Truly, a huge player in the industry, is getting some dispensaries from Harvest of Ohio, which owed them a bunch of money. And part of the settlement was they were like, just give us some of your licenses.
Wow.
So you're going to see some really interesting stuff going on in the state. It's definitely going to be wheeling and dealing kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I mean, I hope the program, I think you've got at least 2 years till our prices come anywhere close to Michigan's. That's just my opinion. Michigan, I know some people who went up for 420, and what I was hearing they were paying, it was cheaper than like high school prices. So it's interesting. That's for sure. But I mean, I hope they do the right thing.
How do you view New York? I live in Rochester, and there's an old IHOP that's turned into a dispensary, and I think that they've taken parts of the old Kodak building and turned that into a growing place.
New York has been really interesting. They like legalized, but then they were so red taped that it's been, from what I've heard from people I know in New York, it's been very, very difficult to get your licensing and get opened and get everything going. I want to say the first one that opened, Gabe, you might have read about this. I don't know. It was in New York, and it was like a nonprofit cannabis.
Yeah, I remember vaguely. Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was in the city or if it was in Brooklyn.
It was in the city. It was downtown.
And I mean, they opened, they had a line around the corner, down the street.
How do you verify, or why nonprofit?
That was the interesting thing. I haven't dug into it, but that was how it was listed. And I was like, how are you nonprofit? Unless they're taking their money and they're somehow investing in something. And then I'm okay with that. I think there needs to be more investment back into the communities that were most affected by the war on drugs, the failed war on drugs.
Right.
I have a real problem with the fact that when I look at the bulk of the Ohio owners, you've got rich white men who come out of the legal industry, the financial industry. They might have smoked, they might have partaken in cannabis, but they don't really know about the plant. But they're making millions and millions of dollars while people who did the same thing that have brown skin are sitting in prison cells. I have a real issue with that.
You know what I like to compare it against? It seems like when it became a business, it became like a craft beer business. You know,
you're right. Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
That's a very good analogy. It is like it's a craft beer business. And that's the whole thing. I went into the industry with, coming from the activism side with these rose-colored glasses, and I'm going to change the world and I'm going to help people. I mean, I had very personal reasons why I became an activist. I had a friend whose daughter has seizures hundreds of times a day and nothing was helping her. And I believe the plant will help her, but she wouldn't give it to her unless it was legal. So to me, that became a huge, huge reason to make it legal, at least medically. And then at the same time, when I was in the hospitality industry, a very good friend of mine who was one of my servers passed away. And the reason he passed away was because he was doing something illegal, but because he had had 2 strikes, he was worried about his 3rd one, and he swallowed something that killed him. And no one should ever have to have that happen to them.
100%.
This whole 3 strikes and you're out concept was just so absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, let's be honest, it was a concerted effort to try to put more people in prison and
feed the prison industrial complex.
Yes.
Ed Meese and Reagan.
Let me ask you this. So coming November, if this things change politically,
right?
See this industry being changed in any way or being troubled in any way?
If we're talking about the orange person, no. Sorry, Gabe. I couldn't help myself.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Gabe and I bond over this. No, I don't, because this is where I've kind of come to realize over the past 2-3 years, especially being more in touch with the actual business side of the industry. There are a lot of people like him in the industry. I'll say that. And there's a lot of people who have the same type of political leaning and affiliation he has. So, because they've realized that you can make money with it now, there's a totally different stance on it.
Is there a chance of it being more monopolized? Because
yes, I in fact, a lot of people were excited that I'm sure you guys might have seen the news that they're talking about they're going to reschedule cannabis.
Right. The DEA or something.
I'm all for that. Having a plant classified as, as bad as heroin is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what they're reclassifying it to is saying it's a plus in that we can now have research, so we can show the medicinal value and there can be huge advancements. Because I truly believe in the power of the plant. It really does have some seriously amazing medical benefits. But with it going to Schedule 3, you kind of open up big pharma. And I'm a little bit afraid about what reclassifying it could potentially mean for the industry as it currently exists. The cannabis companies are thrilled because if they reclassify it to level 3, they will be able to take tax deductions that they have not been able to take up till now in the industry. Man.
And then how does it affect banking? Would it allow them to open up bank accounts?
It should open up banking as well. Well, no, I don't know, because it won't federally be legal. So I'd have to look into that. It may allow banking. I don't know. But yeah, banking is another issue. You can't get, because if a bank is federally funded, so in most states, it's the credit union.
Yeah. I joked around over the years, the recent years, like whoever winds up on the ballot and winning, if they were to completely cancel student loans and
legalize and decriminalize cannabis,
then they will win.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
They will win. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty simple on that.
How about mushrooms and microdosing? Where's that in?
It's something I just started, I want to say dabbling because I'm not using them, but researching. I know a couple people, somebody I knew actually from Shaker. I don't think she went to Shaker. She might have gone to Laurel. She's actually a cannabis healthcare professional in Oregon. Or not cannabis, sorry, a mushroom. And she does microdosing for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys freeze?
I see Gabe moving.
I'm moving. I think you froze. Your audio is still here. Okay, she's going to reset.
I was going to stop my camera and try to. It won't even let me do that.
That's weird. We've never had these things. We know that the powers that be are trying to stamp out the message.
Me talking about cannabis.
Let me try this. Let me bring you back into the studio.
Okay.
And see what happens. Stay on. Let's see. Hey, now we're bringing it back to the stage. Okay. See. Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think mushrooms are the new frontier. I think that there's going to be a lot going. Actually, there's a show that I highly recommend to people if they want to learn more about just alternative medicine.
Yeah. Is it the Netflix one? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I'm talking the show that it's a trade show, an event in Ohio and Cleveland. It's in October. Okay. And it's called the Ohio Cannabis Health Business Summit, OCHBS. It is a really amazing show. It's got things for people who want to get into the industry. It's got things for people who want to learn more about being a patient. It has, last year they had a mushroom talk. There's a really good company out of the Cleveland area called Epiphany Mushrooms. They are not psychedelic yet because they're not legal here, but they do a lot of epidemic. Is it called epidemic mushrooms? I'm probably saying that wrong. Health mushrooms, lion's mane, things like that. But I think that mushrooms are definitely going to be the next big thing you're going to see. I'm already seeing it.
I just saw a commercial about comparing them on the internet. It was Instagram about them being the new Ozempic without all the side effects.
Yeah, I've heard huge things. I mean, I've been seeing on my social media feeds, I've been seeing this new product called Breeze. It's like a non-alcoholic drink that has, and it's not psychedelic mushrooms. It's just like reishi and lion's mane and stuff like that in it. And it supposedly is like a mood, it chills you out.
How different is, I was having knee problems. I just had surgery last year, and I was trying to find some relief before I had surgery. So I was using CBD. And how different is CBD from actual marijuana? Because it really threw me for a loop. I would come up with thoughts, and then they would disappear and vanish like
the clouds.
That's interesting. CBD usually doesn't do that. CBD is just one of the 130 plus cannabinoids that the plant has. The biggest well-known ones are obviously THC and CBD. They're different in that CBD is not psychoactive, and cannabis is. Well, THC is. But there's so many cannabinoids, then they're learning about more and more of them. And that is one of the good things about the program is you can try a combination of different cannabinoids. So like for me, there's a cannabinoid called CBG. It's good for pain, inflammation, like CBD, but it also helps me sleep. So I happen to be a huge proponent of that, but then there's CBN and there's tons, and every year there's a buzz one, right? CBD happened to be the one that probably got picked up the most.
So anything for menopause sufferers, we're at that age.
Menopause sufferers. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of holistic solutions for things like that. I personally have never taken drugs for that because I think I tried them once and they didn't work. So everything I've ever done has been holistic. I mean, I don't know that THC is going to necessarily help somebody with menopause, but I mean, CBD,
The derivatives and
yeah, some of the cannabinoids could potentially help. There's a, there's a new cannabinoid called THCV. They call it diet weed. It's like weed without the munchies. So there's a lot of people who take that for a lot of female things I've heard people take. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of benefits that like, I use topicals on my skin a lot. My parents do. I mean, I've gotten my, don't get mad at me if you're watching, Mom, but I've gotten my mother to eat gummies before.
Try one, Mom. Try one.
They worked.
Yeah.
I have friends that's probably the most fun thing about being interested in being kind of involved in the industry. I'm very vocal about it on social media. So I've probably had over the years, at least 30 people contact me saying, hey, I need your help.
Yeah.
Saying my dad has Alzheimer's. What can I do?
Yeah.
My mom has this. What can help? And I think that's, as my one friend says, it comes from the earth. So
there you go.
There
you go. There you go. And I mean, when I think about the, what do you call? I want to say the ironic or the mixed messaging. I mean, especially with relates to alcohol, and it's just like, oh, but alcohol doesn't do anything bad to you, and yet you want to overly criminalize the cannabis stuff when alcoholism is more deadly.
Yeah. And it's worse for your body.
Yeah.
It has, I mean,
and cigarette smoking,
Yes.
I bet you've learned tons more about politics with your involvement in this.
I can imagine.
Yeah, when I was at Ohio State, I actually wanted to be like an activist. I wanted to be a lobbyist until I worked for the State House for a lobbyist and learned that all lobbying is making deals. Like, okay, you have to give up this to get this, and you're not going to agree with this. But if you want this, you're going to do this.
Right.
And I was like, this is just a bunch of deal making. Like, this isn't
all it is.
I had wrote, I'm going to change the world. Yeah, no. And in cannabis, the politicking is a whole new level, I would say.
Wow.
So I'm going to come full circle. So this is what we usually talk about in the show. I use our show's metaphor of us starting at the same base camp, going through this experiment called Shaker Heights, the integration thing, and returning to the base camp and sharing stories. And what's your takeaway from what your outlook was as a student or going through Shaker, the experience, and then arriving here? And what do you see coming? What do you see? I don't know. Give me your perspective of then compared to now and how you life in America or the world or what have you.
Big questions. Glad I didn't meditate before the session.
Yeah, you're from Shaker. You can handle big questions. You're from Shaker.
I mean, I think, I still live in the Cleveland area. I see a lot has changed. I think a lot's changed for the better, but I think we still have a lot of progress to make. When I, see some of what's going on in our country, I think that the Gen Z they've shown they can do a lot. And I used to say this to the cannabis people all the time. The key to our politics and our future are getting them active. We need them to show up at the polls. We need them to vote. And we need them to educate themselves, because one thing I've learned recently is they're educated through social media. Yeah. So they believe what they hear. So it's our job to make sure we teach our kids, some of us, our grandkids, we just need to make sure that we are taking the spirit we learned from Shaker of inclusion and diversity and having respect for other people's experiences and lives, and pull that in to our kids to make sure they can make a change. And then hopefully we won't ever have to have a conversation about that person who we talked about earlier.
So are you confident that can happen and it is happening? Or
when I look at my kids, I think it is happening. My fear is I don't know what the base is, right? I really hope, I'm hopeful that the base is more like my kids than not. But something's got to change. I don't even want to think about November because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know that either one is going to be without flaws.
Right.
Well, one actually doesn't want to take down democracy.
Exactly. Right. One doesn't want to create a dictatorship.
Yeah. And the other one is old, but he's surrounded by other people, other capable people. So, I mean, it's as much leadership as it is the people that you are surrounding, that are in your cabinet, in your party.
But I think in the future, real near future, next time, we need some young blood. I'm not saying super young, but we need, maybe our age would be great.
Yeah, we need a multi-party system.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I just think people see the corruption, and that dissuades people from actually thinking that they could really. I have so many conversations with adults, people my age. It's like, well, what are you going to do? I mean, what can we do? Our generation, we were blessed with not having to do as much because our parents did the heavy work, the heavy towing, the heavy pulling, and we were able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So I think that's big.
I mean, I had hoped that the other day when the verdict came down that it was going to have a good impact, and all it did was help raise money.
Of course. Yeah.
Which terrifies me for this country, that there's that many people that are like, yay.
I've been reading the polls. I don't understand how there are undecided. I just don't get it. It's black. I mean, it's literally, pardon the pun, but it's literally black and white. I mean, there's no gray area here.
No.
Right.
But I know a lot of people who don't like either candidate, and they're looking at voting for someone else. And I'm like, but then you're giving another vote away, right?
Then don't vote. Then don't show up. A protest vote. What is that about?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like even on a more pragmatic level, I feel for the, election workers who will be faced with, potential threats and intimidation at these polls and stuff like that. And obviously it's going to vary, state by state and stuff like that. But still, there's still a threat. I mean, I feel bad for, the jurors. They did their job. They did it right.
Yep.
And if they weren't cognizant of okay, how do I protect myself online? And now coming around to it, it's it's going to be a little challenging because they have been noted. And like I said on a post a couple of days ago, after the verdict, it's those who shout the loudest that a lot of times are not about it.
Right.
And it's the ones that are not shouting that are about it. And whether they're a group or a lone wolf, there still remains a threat. And, I just read something literally yesterday. Some ex-Army vet was told by God that the purge was happening, and he was showing people how to make homemade bombs and fatal flunnos and what they call death boxes. These are all techniques for maximum kill within a particular area. So Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna. What can you say? I mean, it's gonna get real spicy.
It
Real.
reminds me of War of the World, the internet. We're
Mhm.
all listening to the same radio broadcast. And we
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what's real and what's not real.
And then I think about the movie Children of Men that came out a while back. I mean, it's not the same, but just this. I definitely feel like we're heading toward a very much of a dystopian type of environment out here, and this type of disinformation and unrest is going to continue in some way, shape, or form, and get more intense, especially with AI and deep fakes.
Everything is politicized. Just recently, Major League Baseball has incorporated the Negro League Baseball stats. So there's been some movement and position, and I belong to these baseball, websites. And man, you just read the comments in them, and it always turns out to be a matter of race, even if it's maybe not meant to be taken that way, but it becomes that.
Right.
And we're in like a cold civil war now, right here in this country.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Well, I remember telling my husband when he got elected, when 45 got elected, that day, when I woke up and was like, oh, everyone said it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I started noticing more and more stories about swastikas, about spray painting, vandalizing Black people's homes. And I thought at first, is it just the news covering more? And then I started noticing, no, it's actually happening more and more. And I told him, I said, the problem was he got up there and was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to talk about how I'm racist and misogynistic and all these other things. It's okay for you to do the same thing. And it's like it gave this sleeper cell permission to come to the surface. And there are times where I look at our country and I'm like, God, maybe I should move.
Yeah. I remember it was my last year at journalism school at Berkeley. And I remember we had a thing in the auditorium after 45 was elected. And certainly a lot of younger students were very upset and crying and everything else. Then I remember they had an open mic for students to come up. So mind you, I'm probably one of 5 Black students in that program at that time. And I get up to the mic and I'm like, and I said, and I remember the dean was like, yeah, so, hey, Gabe, what's your thoughts? I'm like, it's White Boy Day. And everybody got real quiet. And I said, it's the alt-right, the racists are now empowered. And the White Boy Day is a reference to the movie True Romance. The character Dexter Spivey, played by Gary Oldman. And he's beating up Christian Slater. Because in the movie, Gary Oldman plays like a white Rasta. So he's beating up Christian Slater. And he's like, what, you think this is White Boy Day? So it was just like the classic line. But it's true. It was true. And this is 2017. And, obviously it was Berkeley and, quiet, like, whatever. And I was just like, yeah, it's become White Boy Day.
It makes me wonder, like this two-party system, that if they're in cahoots with each other.
They are.
Of course they are.
I was reading, you look at MSNBC, they'll bring on whatever that woman who was very controversial from Fox, Megan, whatever.
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly. And I was started watching Big Brother, and that kind of pissed me off because the dynamics of America is a microcosm of what you see on that show, where everyone screws each other.
Yep.
Physically and mentally.
Psychotic capitalism.
So I was the host, Julie Chan. Her husband is Les Moonves.
Mm-hmm.
I read a quote about him talking about, well, I'm sorry, I'm excited about Trump. I don't agree with him, but it's going to bring the networks a lot of money and a lot of opportunity. So they seize that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. He's good for business.
Yeah, they're
In that way.
they're
That's all they
they're,
care about.
they're as complicit as everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So with all this stuff going on in the campuses and all that stuff, how do you feel? I mean, we're in this fight together. We're experiencing different things, but different points of view. But I want to hear how you're feeling, especially being a Jewish person.
My daughter just graduated, so thankful.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she's the last, so I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
But it's very concerning to me. And the biggest problem I have is it goes back to me talking about Gen Z, right? And not understanding what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a really good video the other day of a guy who went to one of the protest camps on campus and was like, hey, I just want to ask you questions. So you're screaming to the river, to the sea. What river? What sea?
Right.
And they didn't know.
Right.
They said, what is Hamas's number one objective? They were like, freeing Palestine. And they're like, no, it's to obliterate Jewish people. They're like, they don't know. And so that's the problem I have is social media has such a huge impact on these young kids and they're believing everything. Now, do I disagree with the protests? No, I just think educate yourself. I am Jewish, but I am not pro Netanyahu and what they're doing.
Exactly.
I think most of us who are Jewish in America feel that way. I don't think we agree with what's going on. There are some who do. I don't happen to be one of them. What I do, however, have a huge problem with in this country is that these kids have taken over campuses and said, no, you can't come in because of your religion. You can't get an education. We're going to spit on you. We're going to throw things at you. I don't care what someone's religion is, what their skin color is. You don't have a right to do that to another human being. And the fact that they can't see that what they're doing, the protesters in general, not just college students, is perpetuating more hate against a group that's already pretty hated. I see these things and I have seen a lot of people on social media say, if the same exact thing happened to a Black student, you would hear an uproar, a cry. Why is it that the colleges would never tolerate it? Why is it that because they're Jewish, it's being tolerated? To me, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It's like if a student is being prevented from getting into class, getting an education, going places because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their sexual orientation, it's never acceptable.
Yeah.
And so I just have a real problem with the way they're handling it, I guess, is as a Jewish person, I feel like we're being targeted to a large degree by a lot of people in this country.
All of us minorities.
And also think, go ahead. Sorry.
Just think about it. I mean, there's a trend. There's Asian hate. There's anti-Semitism, or however you say it. And then, we've always been hated. So, and then the immigrants, they're part of the playbook where they're always pointed at and being the cause for the problem.
Right.
The Jews have historically been pointed at as being the cause for the problem. So it's just history replaying itself.
Right.
It's in fashion right now.
Well, and the history's a pendulum, right? It swings one way.
Yeah.
It swings back the other. Unfortunately, we're swinging very far towards the right, which I'm not real thrilled about. Women don't have rights anymore.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time. I'm hoping that we're at the tip of that side of the pendulum and that it's going to swing right back in the next couple of years.
Yeah, but it just doesn't just happen. It takes
I know. We have to make it happen, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's also like, I was talking to Eric about this briefly. It's about the opacity of the targets and who is framing the conversation.
True.
And especially with, you go back to the low information that, yeah, a lot of these students don't have the full cup. And it's easy to, slogan, get with the slogan, chant.
Well, and I think that's
Yeah.
the problem, right? The people who are running these groups that are coming in, it's not like these students are just like cropping up and creating this.
Right.
There's a very organized
Yeah.
group coming in and leading, this is what we're going to scream. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're fighting for. My whole thing is question it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we live in this oversaturated digital age, information overload pushed to all of us. And a lot of us lack reference and context for media literacy, especially the youth, because they don't teach that. I mean,
right.
It's trippy to think about kids who've grown up with the iPad or the internet totally. And if they hadn't had any type of direction or shaping about what they're consuming, it's just wide open. I mean,
think about it. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
I didn't arrive at this juncture without getting uncomfortable with the way things are, and that makes you look and understand. And now I become cynical, and that's what happens to people in their 50s. And they're like, why do they want that? And why am I doing this? They must want something from me. So I forgot what the point I was trying to make, but it's just insane, where we're going and where it all comes to greed. So until people change that dynamic about themselves and that approach, that's the American culture, it seems to be, or the world culture. I know it's American because we're steeped in it.
Yeah, I go back to my term, psychotic capitalism. I mean, we all have to drink, sips, but we truly operate in a psychotic capitalistic society. It's never enough. And it's more and more and more. How can I extract more out of you without giving you what you're worth, what you need? And just the whole idea. Christine, from being a business owner, if you have good employees, empowered employees, ideally, your profits and your business is it should be heading in a positive direction. And you got to treat people right. You got to respect them. You got to.
And I think that there's gonna be a real awakening with this new group, right? In the next couple. Probably from now till 5 years from now. And it's already happening. The younger people who are coming into the workforce have a very different attitude than we do.
Yeah, right.
I work with some people who have very high positions that are like in their 30s that are making six figures that say to me, well, I'm not flying in on Sunday because I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I'm like, you're a salaried employee. What are you talking about? Right. They're like, oh, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, it's such a vast difference. And it was funny because I was talking to one of my coworkers who's 30, and he goes, I think we got it right and you guys got it wrong.
I think you're right because pandemically speaking, I think what this generation has seen, and especially my kids, they watched their parents get laid off a couple of times, and there was companies didn't care. You're just a number.
Yep.
So they're watching. One good thing about the internet is it's a myth where these kids are becoming self-made millionaires. But at least the kids are driven by the hustle, even though the hustle is mythological at best. But they figure that which we should have learned a long time ago, that we're really contract workers. Even though we're with the company,
right?
It's very temporary. You don't stay at it.
And the first time your employer says, but you're like family, you should run.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh man. Well, we're going to start to wind it down.
All right. Well, I have to do this because if I don't, I will be a failure as a troll. We love to troll.
Okay.
Gabe, and I didn't wear it because I wasn't going to be mean, but I just had to represent.
Oh, I forgot you were a Steelers fan. Oh, that's right. And Zizi, Tony, and now Christine. They all, especially you, I forgot about it.
I grew up in Cleveland, but I have 3 brothers, and my parents' philosophy is that I did it to piss them off. And it probably is true. My older brother is still a dog pound like seat holder, and we still harass each other like anytime they see each other.
But no, it's funny because like Christine will come online like over the years when like if I'm drawing with like Tony or somebody else, Chris Buchanan, about the Browns and the Steelers. But I remember one of the very first comments, she was like, "Yo, what? Why are you guys so like take this to the like the nth degree? Like this is so whatever." But it was just the way you said it. It was just so funny. But yes,
now I jump right in.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, we just gonna see how the season comes. That's all. That's all. We're gonna have to see what happens.
So let me ask you. So as our parting question, who would you like to see on, and what do you think we could do to enhance our show?
Ooh, who would I like to see on? Well, I think Jimmy would be interesting. He could talk about dance club. I'm sure.
And also talk about like his dad was a famous coach,
being right.
Like that dichotomy right there.
Well, I remember that. Trust me. And I was like, wow.
His dad played football?
No, his dad was
the coach of
Heights basketball
coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they named the gym after his dad.
He was like a man, like he was like you're supposed to be a man kind of guy.
Yeah. Like coach on White Shadow, you know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, great coach, and they named the gym at Heights.
Yeah, they just named it right.
Yeah. So
I think Lara Califatis.
Yes, gotta have her on.
Rhonda Brown.
Yes, I got to circle back to Rhonda. Rhonda,
them, amazing,
and the
artist,
Browns.
Great connection to Shaker. Just came back to Cleveland. Was named the Cleveland Art Czar.
Yeah. So I'll circle back because I reached out to her and her brothers because I would love to have them on. So yeah, I'll get
who else? I got one more. If you could get him, Michael McElroy would be a great one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, I got to figure out how to get him. Do you
He's
know this guy?
Teaching at Michigan. He teaches at University of Michigan.
Wow.
He heads up the musical theater department, I believe.
Wow.
Hey, the people out there can help us too.
If you're listening, out. Yes, get us the hookup. Get us the hookup with that. All right. Well, hey, thank you, Christine, for coming on, and thank you for trolling me. Yes.
I had to get it in. I've been sitting here with it. I'm like, oh, when am I going to pull it out?
I love it. And it's all fun. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Browns and Steelers, Northeast Ohio. All right. Well, this is another episode of the Shaker Heights. Experiences may vary. We thank everybody who's tuned in live, and for those who will be watching this later, please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you look at the ticker at the bottom, we have quality and what Eric is wearing. We have quality Shaker inspired merchandise to strum that. There you go. And yeah, let's tap into your nostalgia with our Shaker merch, the Shaker Garment Company, and find stores everywhere. Okay. Thank you again, Christine.
Thank you guys
for coming on. No doubt. And this is already going to be on YouTube because it went live to YouTube, and so that's where it lives.
And Spotify as well. You don't have to watch YouTube.
Yeah.
And we should have put that on the clicker, but we didn't. I knew that. So.
Yeah. We're still a shop in progress.
Yeah. We're not on Apple yet.
All right, for everybody, you have a good day. Rest of the day ahead on Sunday, live from the Coventry Rapid Stop in our minds. This is the Shaker Heights. Until next time. All right, Christine. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.